Welcome back, everyone. POW Ponder on Weather here. Hope everyone out there is enjoying your weekend. Our next storm system keeps getting bigger heading into next week that you need to prepare for. So we'll break down all the details in this update and start off with the overall setup this morning for your Saturday. Yeah, we start to see this trough digging down here off the deep south. That brought all the unsettled weather, cooler weather, even some snowflakes started to fly into portions of Oklahoma and Texas yesterday. Now that trough is hanging out in the deep south. That's bringing all the unsettled weather, rain showers for them, but then heavier snow is going to be breaking out in some of these higher elevations where they do have winter storm warnings in place. We've got another trough going to be digging in off the west coast. That's also going to be bringing some unsettled weather for them. So if we check underneath the hood and take a look at the overall surface map this morning, we can see that trough hanging off the west coast. That's bringing some unsettled conditions across San Francisco this morning with some rain showers for them. But the cooler conditions are definitely prevailing out west, while we have underneath that other trough down here into the southeast. That's bringing some rain showers across Louisiana into New Orleans, back into the Montgomery area. We've got that boundary hanging up across central Florida here, but still a lot of instability and more unsettled weather swinging across portions of Atlanta this morning. And there is that winter storm warning across the higher elevations. Let's kind of zoom into that area. So all this area in peak is in fact under a winter storm warning, and some of these higher elevations, yeah, some of these areas could have some mixed precipitation, anywhere from 2 to potentially as high as 11 inches of snowfall. And even some icy accumulations can't be ruled out, with some higher wind gusts of up to 40 miles an hour. This all starts tonight and heads through midnight Sunday night. So be on high alert down here for some heavier kind of wet snowflakes under portions of the Appalachian Valley here. Going into tomorrow night, headed into your day on Sunday time frame. But underneath that, yeah, that's all the rain and instability down here in portions of the southeast. So we've got some pretty, heavy rainfall. In fact, 1 to 3 inches kind of widespread across these areas, into Mississippi and back into Alabama, into the Georgia region, back into South Carolina. You can actually see it's fairly clear for the rest of the country. But underneath that, let's take a look at some of the overall precipitation totals. So yes, we got that other trough that's off the west coast. This is just between now and the next 48 hours. So just kind of light rain showers across portions of Washington and Oregon. Down here, pretty much all of California could be getting at least a little bit of a rain showers for them. And then that will be swinging across the desert southwest. But the more significant rains are highlighted over Alabama, getting into Georgia, through the Carolinas, all the way up through North Carolina, into Virginia. These areas, you can see the graph in the right-hand corner of the screen. Yeah, anywhere from possibly 1 to 3 inches is definitely not out of the question, as this swings up, tries to swing up the East Coast, but kind of loses its punch as this will continue to push off the East Coast and kind of clear the skies back behind it. But yeah, as we head into Monday, the system has really slowed down, and that's why it's really amplified this system. And these are the temperatures as we head into your Monday time frame. It's plenty warm for the middle of February, and there's no question with that ridge hanging up over portions of the north. Underneath that, man, 15, 20, if not some places 25 degrees above average temperatures. I don't need to tell you, that is definitely not normal for this time of year. But all the unsettled weather will be across the west coast, and the much cooler conditions out for them. So we're going to be paying attention by Monday as of another trough that's going to be diving in, that's hanging off the west coast now that'll be setting up shop over the desert southwest. This has been significant. This is extremely slowed down. Just a couple of days ago, it was basically parked over Texas and bringing them a deluge, but now they're kind of high and dry. And that's done, as the system slows down, that's developed this ridge and going to be building these temperatures across this area for several days, as this other trough has been really starting to get amplified as well. That is going to be more significant. You're going to have a lot of more fuel to the fire to fuel these storms, heating up that atmosphere out ahead of this significant trough that's going to be clashing into that air mass and going to spell trouble heading into your Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday time frame. Those are your high impact days headed into next week. So let's take a look at the setup for Tuesday. This is your Valentine's Day, as that first trough will be swinging across the middle of the country. We always kind of look for little kinks of the hose, and whenever that happens, that drives up the instability and the more unsettled weather as it really starts to dig and kind of pull in some of this Pacific moisture and, you know, riding it up with these southwest winds. And it's going to be plenty warm even on Tuesday time frame. But yeah, some heavier rain should break out across portions of Texas into Oklahoma, into portions of Kansas. And then back behind it, we're going to start to see some heavier snows really start to break out across the high elevations. But this is the more significant storm system that we're going to be watching. This really starts to get its act together by the middle of next week, and that's the one we really have to be concerned about. But underneath the surface map onto your Tuesday time frame, yeah, we've got that heavier snows that are breaking out across Washington, there in Oregon, back into Idaho, into Montana, into Wyoming here, all the way through portions of Utah. I know, you know, basically anywhere Flagstaff is going to be hit hard with some heavier snow is going to be starting into your Tuesday afternoon time frame. And even on the western slopes of Colorado, we've got a bona fide, you know, low pressure center, 992 low pressure. And I think we've got some pretty significant snows. They're going to be really starting to build across portions even of the Denver region. But yes, out ahead of it, there's your storm system, that at least that first storm system that will bring all the rain showers. This isn't severe on Tuesday, but definitely some stronger storms across portions of central and north Texas, all the way through Oklahoma. Pretty much the entire state of Oklahoma, I think, does get rain from this system, as well as even into Kansas and in southern portions of Nebraska. But there's the setup on Tuesday. Again, plenty warm. You've got several days. It's going to be fueling these storms out ahead of the main event. So the atmosphere is really going to be able to heat up in a big way, waiting for the next storm system that will look to unfold by the time we get into your Wednesday time frame. Because there it is. If we look at the overall 500 millibar wind speeds, this is the low-level jet about 17,000 feet up in the atmosphere, really starts to amplify and digs, and it is cranking. This thing is screaming across, and as it does, it's going to bring a lot more instability, tap it into that warm sector. We got a bona fide low pressure center forming to the northwest side of there. And that's when the heavier snows are going to be starting to crank out. And we could even be talking blizzard type conditions in some of these areas by the time we get into your Wednesday, Thursday time frame, as things get interesting further south. And with that slowness, with the overall slowing of that trough of that secondary system, that increases the dew points and brings the system back further westbound. You can see the setup by Wednesday afternoon now of where the drier conditions back behind this dry line. But there's the soupy air mass as this system's going to be able to tap into this warm sector. Here are the dew points. Plenty warm, plenty of moisture to fuel these thunderstorms. 68, 64 into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Louisiana, back into portions of Arkansas. This is the air mass that we have to be concerned about as that low-level jet will be tapping into. And of course, increasing the instability as well. We start to see our Cape values, probably the more significant highest numbers I've seen so far this winter, up in the 2,000 range in some of these areas. So yes, plenty of fuel to fuel these thunderstorms. And because of that, the latest update from the Storm Prediction Center has in fact pulled back that system with that slowing secondary system coming in. So now it includes all of the Dallas-Fort Worth area heading into your Wednesday afternoon, southern portions of Oklahoma, all the way into portions of northern Louisiana and Arkansas. This is your area that we have to be concerned about for all three modes of severe storms as we head into your Wednesday time frame. Isolated tornadoes, large hail, and some damaging winds within this sector. And this is now a good time if you're looking for a weather station. Now is the best time ever. This is the one I personally have myself. This is the Weatherflow Tempest weather station. Between now and the 15th, we've only got 4 more days, but they're doing a Valentine's Day special. This is the lowest I've ever actually seen it. You use the code BESTWX, you do in fact get $40 off and free shipping. So if you'd like to purchase one of these, here is the link, and I'll have a clickable link that you can click in the description below if you'd like to purchase one of these Tempest Weatherflow weather stations, which I definitely highly recommend. So let's take a look at the setup as we head into your Wednesday. So there's your Wednesday time frame. We've got the severe stuff heading into portions of Texas and Oklahoma and portions of Louisiana, this sector right here. But back behind it, there's the snow that's really going to be breaking out. I did mention Denver's probably going to be picking up a pretty significant snowstorm out of this deal as a bona fide low pressure center really starts to form, and that northwest sign, we could have a pretty significant deformation zone really start to set up shop. And a lot of these areas into Colorado, into portions of far western portions of Oklahoma Panhandle, getting into Kansas here through Nebraska, as we'll be having the snows really start to crank out in these elevated winds as well. So you can't even roll out some even blizzard-like conditions. But take a look at the setup as we head into Thursday. And this is going to be probably your more significant event as this really starts to go negatively tilted. There's the low pressure center. It's almost forming an eye here across portions of Nebraska and Kansas, but to the southeast side, that's where you got to be really concerned about as the air starts to split at the lower levels. And we've got a lot of shear that's going to be unfolding across portions of the southeast. And that's going to be a significant, nasty day for severe weather, especially when these lower level winds are starting to shear at the lower levels. You've got that split up in the atmosphere, and that's not something you want to see if you live in this sector. So you got to be on high alert for a very high impact day. This could definitely be a significant severe weather outbreak. There's no question about it. And it, you know, for something of this far out looking so good, as you will, and on a lot of the ensemble guidance, a lot of congruency are coming together. That's why it's really highly concerning. This is already looking that good this far out, and this is why the Storm Prediction Center has in fact that slight risk. And this is a day 6 slight risk. They've already talked about upgrading this, and this will in fact easily be upgraded as we get closer to this area. But yeah, the dew points are going to be able to increase a little bit more, and lifting back up into Tennessee, even Kentucky. You can't even roll out portions of Indiana and Ohio did not get severe storms from this setup. This looks to be a pretty big severe weather outbreak day. So this is a day that you really have to, especially Wednesday into Thursday in the next week. So, but there's the squall line as this moves across with all the lightning sector as we get into Thursday afternoon. Like I mentioned, this is the day and time frame that we got to be on high alert down here for a significant severe weather outbreak. And so from your Wednesday time frame over those 24 hours, the snow is really going to start flying into portions of, say, in the Flagstaff area, getting into the Santa Fe area, Albuquerque, but really start to crank across the western slopes. That swings across eastern Colorado, especially in the Denver area, swings across western portions of Oklahoma into Kansas, and starting to get into Nebraska. We'll have a secondary swath of snow breaking out into South Dakota as well as into Minnesota. But then as this continues to swing up into your Thursday timeframe, heading into Friday morning, there's the deformation zone that really sets up, and we got some elevated snows, some higher snows could really start to crank out in this region's 6 to 10 inches is definitely not out of the question. It's going to be some of these areas going to be overperforming from that, and I can't even roll out a foot of snow. And yes, I'm expecting pockets of blizzard warnings setting up shop along this boundary as we get into your Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, because the winds are going to be really cranking to the northwest side of that low pressure center. There's no question about it. So yeah, I can't roll out even blizzard-like conditions as the winds crank 40, 50, upwards to 60 miles an hour at times is definitely not over exaggerating by any stretch of the imagination, as this will be swinging across. But there's the good sign with every storm system that kind of clears the atmosphere out. So we do have a cold front, a fairly significant cold front that's going to be trailing on the backside. So by the time we get into your Friday time frame, once this cold front moves through, it's the all clear signal, and you got much cooler conditions, if not colder conditions, that plunge all the way down into the deep south again, while the east is still essentially in the warm sector waiting for that cold front. And that's where you've got all the instability, not severe on Friday, but definitely some rain showers underneath that. If you take a look at the surface map, that squall line will be racing across, along the East Coast here, as this will continue to bring rain showers for them as we head into your Friday afternoon time frame. But not much snow on the backside. It definitely clears out. Notice how clear it is on the backside of this system. So again, once that cold front moves through your area, it's kind of the all clear signal that things are starting to be, a very, you paid your dues, right? Then you're going to be able to experience some really nice conditions on the backside, and that really sets up, I think, a very nice weekend ahead. I mean, it's very rare as you head into next weekend on your Saturday time frame to see the entire U.S. map, not really much of anything. So this is going to be a kind of a bumpy week, to say the least, especially for your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time frame, and then swinging off the East Coast by Friday. But the prize at the end of the tunnel is going to be your very clear conditions in a lot of areas you're going to experience in a very nice weekend ahead for next week. So check out my second channel as well. This is POW Ponder Ultra, so I'll be doing more updates on that channel as well. And definitely hit the subscribe button on this channel, and check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'll be updating on those platforms as well. And catch me in the next update, where I protect you before and after storm.